God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. There's a kind of love that God only knows.
Welcome to Season 3, Episode 3 of Your Journey Is Not Over. My name is Tanya Pearson Randolph. This is my own personal journey, and the expressions and opinions are of my own. I own all the rights to my personal journey and to Your Journey Is Not Over. Neither are to be used, copied, or edited in any way without my consent. Before I do get to all that caused me to lock down, I was really coping with all that was thrown at me too. As always, my whole life, I compartmentalized, I stored it away, and I carried on as if nothing had ever happened. At least to the outside world, it did seem that way. No one could ever imagine all of the pain that I hid with just my smile, that I released when I'm alone. The tears I have shed behind closed doors, I relate it to every time I swim in the ocean. I've cried enough tears to fill that ocean a few times. And because our tears are salty, so to me, it's like a full circle moment every time I swim in the ocean. My tears filled that ocean. And then, as always, God used that pain and those tears to create something so beautiful that brings me so much peace and enjoyment. It's a place I find my balance. So my way of thinking, again, remember, I have my own little way of seeing things. My tears were not wasted. But running on autopilot, my life, my normal, my whole life. Move forward always. But there would be something I would uncover, I would discover after my mother's death that would, as I now describe it, make the world open up and just swallow me whole. I discovered something that would rock me to my core and stop my world from spinning completely. But before I get to that, I do want to address something that is so important to me. Personally, what I am about to address has affected my life firsthand, first with my daughter, and most recently, a very dear friend who became a mentor to me. She's my Wonder Woman, was the nickname from me. They're both tragic completely for all involved or affected. In doing my research, I'm floored at what I've discovered. I have been affected personally with two people I love dearly in the last month and a half, and for the same reason, medication. The switching, the lack of, the cut off cold turkey from Medicaid. There are millions of people who rely on our healthcare system for care, for assistance, and most importantly, for medication. As I have researched it across the board, the list is endless of all that are affected. There are cancer patients, there are diabetes patients, there are kidney patients, and mental health patients. And as far as people on antidepressants, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia, and depression medications, how can we have a healthcare system that, regardless of the needs, the importance, some life or death, that without warning just cuts people off with no changes as far as their income or anything, only to have those go through the stress of going without their coverage? Unnecessary stress and anxiety, I might add, to people that are already sick and relying on medication to keep them alive, to keep some balanced, so they can control the mental health issues, stay consistent on the medication. Those that have been on for years too. Well, my research has educated me. They cut you off with no warning, only to have those to reapply, which is a whole process within itself. It takes a month or two to get reinstated, to get their coverage back, which means to get treatment and medication again, to survive, to live, to maintain. How do we have a healthcare system that's supposed to help people that are sick in whatever way, whether it be physically, mentally, or emotionally, hinder people, be the cause that cost people their lives, cause tragedies that were preventable simply by cutting people off? How is that? During my research, I also learned that people that receive SNAP benefits, it's better known as food stamps, well, there is no cutoff. They have made it possible within that department for benefits to not be interrupted. People are scheduled phone interviews once a year to go over if there are any changes in income, etc., so that the benefits aren't interrupted. No one has to go without food. Well, why can't it be the same with Medicaid, Medicare, Who's Your Health Wise, Obamacare, whatever it's called, wherever you are? If our system can make sure people do not go without food, then that same system needs to be implemented and used for our healthcare. Both are essential to millions of people in this country. They actually go hand in hand. You got to live to eat. American people should not have a system that fails them, that costs many their lives daily. The numbers are astronomical. People on fixed incomes, single parents, people working 2 and 3 jobs just to pay the bills, most living paycheck to paycheck, do not have the funds to cover treatments, to cover medications, to get them through until the whole process of reapplying and waiting for a response to only be reinstated a few months later. Elderly feel like our government is doing population control, wanting them to go without treatment and their medication so that they would merely die. And most that I have talked to, they've worked their whole lives. They've paid into our system dearly. Our government makes sure of that, to only feel like they paid into a system that fails them and cost them their lives. It's heartbreaking. And knowing what I've learned now, watching the news now and scrolling through the news, I truly see it completely different. And I can't help but wonder how many of those that we hear didn't see that coming, would have never thought that person would commit a crime, or this was so out of the blue, not their character at all. Well, again, how many of those people were cut off of medication that they'd been on for years? Across the board, all walks of life, all are being affected. Our world is being affected. And as I say it, the world has gone mad. Well, it's our own healthcare system that's helping to create such madness. No wonder the crime rates are so high. We need changes. Treatments and medications are just as important, essential as food. This is something I am passionate about, and I am passionate about saving lives. By implementing the same exact system as SNAP and food stamps has, look how many lives would be saved, how much crime rate would decrease. Now, that does give everyone something to think about. Again, personal lessons, well, they bring awareness, and awareness does bring changes. I do not own the rights to the things that I chose to share today. Sometimes faith is building an ark when there is no rain. Sometimes faith is dipping 7 times in a muddy river when you have open wounds, or marching in circles and shouting praises when your enemy is ready to do battle. And sometimes faith is tasting the sweetness of God and the saltiness of your tears. We only truly fell when we refuse to learn and grow from what tried to break us. Next time you feel nervous about stepping outside your comfort zone, please remind yourself, I feel fear because it's new, not because I can't do it. Keep going, and as my grandma always said, you're not brave, child, unless you're scared. Be brave always. I want to give a shout out to everyone fighting silent battles who still get up, show up, and refuse to give up. You're stronger than you think. This does conclude my podcast for today. Please join me Thursday, listen in, and always remember, your journey is not over. God bless.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been